So here we are playing Test Drive Unlimited 1. It's probably one of my favorite games of all time. Not to say the game is a masterpiece or anything, because it's far from perfect. But for sure, it's one of the best open world racing games that I've ever come across. Played. You know, when I first played this, I was a lot younger, and I would play on the 360 version. And that didn't really include much of the DLC that was included with this PC version that I have here. So certain bikes, certain cars aren't included from the version that I played back in the day. After the 360 version, though, I went on to experiment, and I actually played the PS2 version. The PS2 version is actually really fun. It's a really great game. You'd think they'd downgrade it for the inferior hardware, but which it is, don't get me wrong, it's just still very enjoyable to play despite how different the handling and all that sort of stuff is. I'll definitely make sure to make a video about that. But today, what we're going to be doing is playing some more of TDU 1 in this PC version, and I guess we're just going to experiment with some bikes. It's mostly because I can't get used to how they handle. It's kind of janky in this game. It's not horrible once you get used to it, but still very weird and off-putting compared to the cars in this game. So I think we should start off with a bike event somewhere. Okay, here's a bike event that looks like a mountain route that I've driven before. This is the route that goes through this tunnel here, which is very fun. So I think we should do that. Apparently I have not discovered this yet, even though it's like right there. These blue roads are the ones I've discovered and driven on, and the gray ones are the one that I have yet to drive on, which I haven't quote-unquote discovered. Like, look, it's literally across the street. So I've been driving a bit with the Ninja, and I think it's pretty good. I haven't driven my 999. I have a feeling it's not going to be very different, but I still want to see what it's like. It's very pretty. One thing I didn't mention is that the PC version actually has a starter system. Like, you had to actually turn the ignition to get the cars to crank. A lot of games do that, yeah, but on the console versions, it's pretty much automatic. You don't really have to worry about it. On the PC, though, you have to bind it to something and make sure you turn it on every time. It's kind of annoying. But again, you get used to it. When I first started playing this on a gamepad, I actually binded my starter button to a shoulder button. And I did that against my better judgment because I know I always bind the shoulder buttons to, like, camera buttons. To, like, toggle the camera or look behind me. So what I would do is, by force of habit, I would hit one of the shoulder buttons while I was going around this speed, and I would just turn the car off. When I'm going like super fast, it's very annoying. And now I have it bound to a face button, so it's still really easy to get to because you have to use it quite often, but not in a way. It's not in a place that I can easily hit it on accident, or without thinking. It still happens occasionally, but yeah, it's a bit better. Yeah, I was right. The bikes don't really handle all that differently from each other. I like bikes, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a bike geek like I am a car geek. So I don't really know what the differences would be if there were any in real life. It does handle a little better, like it's a bit more responsive and turns at a higher end speed. I can appreciate that. Uh-oh. I thought we could save it. Oh yeah, that's another thing. You can't turn the ignition if your revs aren't at 0. So if you accidentally turn off the car or bike when you're going at speed and you have a lot of revs built up, it's going to take quite a while for the revs to go down again, and in the meantime you can't attempt to start your car again. So what you would have to do is shift into neutral as fast as you humanly can and try to crank over the engine. And then shift really quick back to the gear you're supposed to be in because you'd over-rev the crap out of the engine. When I first had this PC version, I played it with TDU Platinum. There's a mod that adds like a ton of cars and stuff. It's really cool and everything, but I don't. It's not very fun because it breaks the game's balancing pretty bad. We won by quite a margin there. Also, here's another thing I want to bring up that is kind of weird to me. It doesn't really matter the length of the event that you do. Well, it kind of does. Like, okay, so what I'm getting at is that the replay function sometimes works and sometimes it doesn't. It gives you the option seemingly at random. In some super long events, like I kind of understand because maybe like it's over the memory limit for the recording data or whatever. But sometimes it just gives you the option to replay anyway in those long events, and what it does is it just lets you replay the last whatever minutes of the event. Like it starts in the middle of it, back when it still had the memory to record whatever happened. But other times it just doesn't, and even for the shorter ones where you'd think like you'd have enough to record all that stuff, it would have it. Maybe it's because I crashed and went off the road or something, and like the replay recording algorithm just doesn't like that, and it just doesn't give you the option to record or show you the replay when you're done. You have to be going super clean the entire race. It's kind of annoying if you want to see it, but it's not really a big deal. I don't know if you've seen it while I was recording, but the sky sometimes does this weird glitch where it just adds a whole bunch of noise and it makes it all look like TV static, or it changes it to a weird color like a yellow. My theory is my GPU is too new for this game, and I do remember the 360 version having rainbows. So what I think is happening is that it's trying to display a rainbow, but it just completely glitches out the skybox and has all that corrupted data on the sky. So let's see what else we can do here. I am just roaming around, feeling the bike and whatever. It is pretty good. But do I prefer the Ducati over the Kawasaki? I don't know. They feel the same to me. Maybe it's just that they're very similar bikes. I have no idea. I'm sure someone's gonna slap me for saying that, but it's just what I think. What a Lotus. I don't understand why the devs for this game are so excited over British cars. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. This game has more British manufacturers than, like, modern Forza does. It's really that ridiculous. Even has Triumph, the bike company. Let's go back to the Kawasaki to compare the two. A friend of mine brought this up while I was playing the other day. He played more of the PS2 version growing up. And I do agree with him when he says the PS2 had a lot better challenge. I think the AI just didn't have to deal with the different handling model. Because it's not bad, don't get me wrong, but the PS2 handling model is quite simplistic. It's very slidey. You get very simplistic oversteer, like, that's very controllable. It's just your car sliding a little bit. And I think when the AI is given something like that to deal with, it's very easy for them, and they can push the car really hard. But in this game, if you push the car too hard, you spin. Or you understeer like crazy. So they're not really... Oops. I guess that wasn't enough force for us to fall off the bike. I'm not complaining. But yeah, the AI in this game tends to be pretty slow. Not only that, the time attack challenges tend to be very lenient. The biggest challenge you'd get in this game by far are the delivery missions where you deliver the vehicles, because you have a damage meter and you don't want it to go down ever, because if you do it perfectly, you get a money bonus. And it's not just like a little bit of money, you get like, what, 50% of the entire prize for delivering the car if you get it perfect. So you try your absolute hardest to do it perfectly. And the way the traffic works in this game and how janky the roads can be on the very edges, it can be kind of frustrating. See, look at that margin. 30 to 40 seconds faster than the actual gold time for this. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't think it's a skill issue, because I'm not very good at this game. I think it's that lenient. So yeah, the harder missions would probably be those car delivery missions, which are these. It is so infuriating when you're like, I don't know, 9 out of the 10 miles of the delivery mission, because I didn't mention this, but they're super long. They tend to take at least 20 minutes. And at the very end, you crest a hill and then a traffic car swerves into you. And you lose that money bonus, along with whatever penalty you get from damaging the car. It's super infuriating, and you have to start over every time, and it sucks. The other things that are kind of difficult are these speed challenges. Not really the ones where you had to hit a target speed in under the target time. Those are pretty easy. It's the ones where they set up checkpoints that you have to like fly through, like speed traps. Let me see if I can find a good example of that here somewhere. This one, this challenge right here, this one sucks. So some of the challenge from these events comes from learning which order to hit these in. Partly because you can't open the map to see them all, and partly because you want to optimize your speed for each one of these, so you want to have it the most run up you can, while still hitting these in the correct order. That's fair enough, you know, that's typical challenge. What makes it harder, though, are all these traffic cars, and you'll see what I mean when I get to a specific part of this event here. It's been a while, so I don't know if I'm doing this correctly. in the correct order. Fair enough. Okay, that was gonna happen anyway because of the speed you have to hit that like, you have to build up speed. Alright, let's go this way. Spin the way I want you to spin, car. Listen to me. It's this particular crest right here. It makes you lose control of your car while you're trying to hit it at top speed. And see, you don't hit the reference score most of the time. And there's usually a lot more heavy traffic here, so a lot of the times what would happen when I try this is an SUV comes up at the last second and hits me head on, and I hit the speed trap like at 3 miles an hour. And I lose all the run-up I had to get to top speed. I had to start like all over again. Because I'm also under a time limit. See, I still haven't hit the speed target. So what I end up doing is I hit that same event but with a different car. I use the Koenigsegg, and let me tell you, the Koenigsegg is one of the most enjoyable vehicles I've ever driven in any game ever. I sound like I'm exaggerating, but it's pretty bad. I know most of it has to do with old Koenigsegg's having a ton of power on old tires and almost no aero, and just completely rear-wheel drive. I'm having wheel spin in 4th gear. 5th gear. This is top gear, this is 6th. Wheel spin. So let me try my best to actually complete this with this car here. When I first completed this mission, this is the only A-class car I had, which is the restriction for this event. You have to have an A-class car. That includes stuff like that McLaren I was driving earlier, what else? The Murcielago, the Ferrari Enzo, that sort of stuff. Those have at most like 600 to 700 horsepower. This Koenigsegg, when it's fully upgraded, has 1,050 or something. Which in a game this old is quite insane for a road car. This was back in 2006 or 7, mind you. So we're at the infamous crest here. Let's see how that goes. No, not nearly fast enough. Let's try and hit those other ones back there. Oh. Skill issue, ignore that. I try my best to modulate the throttle so I don't wheel spin all the time, but sometimes I find that if I let the car wheel spin, it actually accelerates faster, so I don't know. I did not brake hard enough there. My character would be dead in real life. I would have turned this car into a banana. Beam and G moment. That was slick. Okay, this is how I passed it the other time, is by hitting that almost sideways and then going back to the other speed traps out here with this kind of zig. And just mashing the throttle and try to accelerate to a super high top speed. Which is not always easy because the traffic makes this insufferable. And a car that handles like this. Oh, we did it. But yeah, that challenge can be pretty annoying. Here's one thing I don't really understand. So, from my knowledge, this game has Saleens you can buy, like the Mustang-based Saleens. And you couldn't get those cars from the dealership unless you had a DLC. But if you have a Mustang in your garage, it doesn't matter if it's the Roadster or the convertible or the coupe, bite me. Yeah, let's say this. If you have one of these in your garage, you can go to the tuning shop for American cars. Find it. There you go. You can go to this tuning shop, and here it will have a Saleen option, and it just turns your car into Saleen. You didn't need any DLC for this. It will just be a thing that you could do, which is awesome. But the downside is it puts those ugly rims on the car. So I have a theory with those. This game is insistent on making the tire and rim models separate. I don't know if a lot of games do that. I think they do. I think a lot of games do that, now that I think about it. But as a consequence, some of the rims are a bit too big for the rim, or the rim is modeled slightly different so that it goes over the lip of the rim and it covers it. It makes the rim look completely different. Let me see if I can find a car that's like that. I had a Mercedes AMG that had that problem. And when you would upgrade your Mustang to look like that, it would have this same problem. This is like an extreme example. So look at the inside of this rim here and see where there's like a bolted pattern on the side of the lip here. That's supposed to be in the open air, because when you look at it head on, this part of the rim, or the tire, blocks that part of the rim. So this tire is meant for a smaller diameter of rim. It's like stretched over the rim. That's the most cursed thing I've seen. And once you recognize this, like it really bothers me. Once I saw this for the first time, once I realized that was happening, I couldn't stop saying it. And people just accepted that, like, back in the day. Like, I've looked online to see if there were people complaining about this. Nobody brought it up. I don't think people cared. Which is really funny. Now, this is the opposite example. This is a TVR Tuscan. Very good car. I like it a lot. But this has the opposite problem. Look, this rim is smaller than the tire. You can see the ground through the tire, the space of the lip and the tire. Look at that. I didn't mod the game or anything, or I did mod it, but it's just like a patch or something. It doesn't modify the cars in any way. You can look at footage of this game like on consoles without any mods or anything. This is just the DLC you get this from. Or I'm not even sure this is DLC. I think this is a vanilla car. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But still, it's... Wow. They put it in the game like that. That is... I have no words. Oh, another thing. I think as a consequence of this game not doing digital dashboards and not having, like, only doing analog gauges. But when you go in the cockpit view, car's on, it's revving, we're driving. Look, there's nothing there but a little needle moving. So, oh, hello. Excuse me. I don't know if this is a consequence of this car's dash being completely digital, but there's just nothing here. They just didn't finish this car. See, this shows you the kind of gauges it's supposed to have, I guess, on the heads-up display. But inside the car, there's just nothing. That's really funny to me. Also, the rim problem still happens when you're outside. It's not just noticeable because everything is like really dark no matter how bright it is outside in this game, but that's just how that game works. So yeah, that's really frustrating. So if you buy one of the Saleens, you get that problem with the rims, is what I'm getting at. You can go to a dealership and buy one though, and I think they don't have that problem. I think you can even choose your rims. Yeah, if I go here. Yeah, see. These rims are a lot bigger. Isn't that funny? I think that's all I'm going to be recording for today. Thank you for watching, and for those of you who've stayed since the 2020 era, appreciate you. You keep this going.